Well, here we are. It's another edition of the Gran Fondo National Series, brought to you by Suarez, and this is the E-Series Championship, brought to you, streamed by ZMS on the RGT platform, and I have been looking forward to this all day long. Now, this is quite an interesting concept, the way these are raced. If you've never watched one before, this is segment timed, and there are several start times during the day. So what will happen after this race, we're on the UK time 3 p.m. in the afternoon start, and what will happen is that there's 4 segments during this race, and each will be timed and the times amalgamated. They will then be compared with all the other races, and bear in mind there's just 3 in the UK alone, others in the US in various times and Europe, and these will be all amalgamated and the results will be published later. So look out for that on the Gran Fondo National Series website.com. Here's the course today as we go through Juneau. This is in North Carolina. This is Asheville, which is to the west of Charlotte, and you can see it's undulating as we go along a little bit of flat along the river valley before climbing again and back onto the river valley there. Little lumps, and these are incorporated within the time segments, the time segments being the red bits. And look at that. Segment 4 is uphill to the mountain top. So 3,000 foot, so that's probably about a third of that in meters if you work in meters, so probably looking at 1,000 and something meters. Look at that. A nasty little climb at the end of the time segment, and I think that's going to affect a lot of people. But you look at all 4 of those segments, they all basically end up going uphill towards the end, and this is really going to be a test for the riders. So what have we got? We've got 31.46 miles, and that's something in the region of 50 kilometres if you work in kilometres. So 50 kilometres with 1,000 metres of climbing, or 31.46 miles with 3,496 feet of climbing. That is a lot of climbing, I would say, relative to the distance. You might have your own views on that. If you live in a very flat area, you might think it's a lot, and if you live in a very mountainous area, you might think it's not. But based on the averages that I tend to see, I think that's quite a hilly course, and will cause riders some duress going up those hills. So let's have a look. There's the start line. As you can see, this is RGT, resplendent with the graphics that they provide. This is the summer theme. 71 riders online, and they're off. Now, this is timed segments, so it's a great idea to be in the draft, but you're not necessarily needing to be in front of anybody at the finishing line. And this is how it always starts, isn't it, on an RGT race? Everybody flying in there, trying to get in that peloton. Because if you get in that peloton, and look at that, 50 kph, all right, the gradient is minus 8.2%. But you have got to be pedalling to make sure you are not dropped at this point if you want to get the benefit of the draft in that peloton. And we can see some riders already missed that. Others will be dropped off that peloton during the race, so don't think it's the end of the world. They will, at the end of the day, some of these riders that drop off here will find themselves in groups further back. And remember, and here's the key point, the front peloton isn't necessarily the fastest up on the segment, because at the moment we're not on a segment, so therefore nobody's gaining anything particularly by going fast on this stretch of road. When we get to a segment, it's not inconceivable that Group 2 might actually do that segment faster than Group 1. So as I say, don't read too much into this if it turns out that you found, if you're listening and you're riding, if you are in a group further back, you can still actually do well over the segments, and that's what counts. Remember, we have 4 segments today, all ending up on an uphill, and the times will be amalgamated compared to the other races today, and we'll see what happens. 29, this is sorry, miles per hour. I have to remember that. I tend to work in kilometres, so forgive me. So 29 miles per hour, that is pretty fast. I mean, we're looking at over 40 kph. Still on a minus gradient here, 1.9. You can look at the terrain down in the bottom of your screen. Red and orange means it's going up, blue means it's going down, green can be either or flat, but it's fairly benign. this is quite, if you just look at these riders straggling behind trying to get on that peloton, I think it's going to be very hard for them to get on the peloton. At 29 miles per hour, that is a hard call to get on, although there's a little group of 3 on the left there that I think might just do this. We shall see. It's going to be very hard. One of them seems to have got on. Yep, one rider's got on, 3 riders, 4 riders have got back on that peloton. There's somebody in the middle there. It's Anctil, sorry, and that's a bit of no man's land. I mean, you might actually be better dropping back and getting in the getting in the next one behind. I see Cara Bono's in there, and Holly Larson, whom I both know. Go on, girls. Well done for being part of this, and good luck today to both of you, Kate and Cara and Holly. Good luck. Just trying to see who else I know. Harris, yes, from Poland. There's another rider name I recognise there. So it's nice to see plenty of international representation here, because remember that the Gran Fondo National Series is basically an American US-based competition, as we look into the pain caves of a couple of riders. So we'll see. Well done for volunteering to look hot and sweaty on screen, and good luck to you both. Nice little wave there. Well done, thank you very much. Good to see you. So it's so there's still a peloton at the front there, and we see the aerial view at the top, and different groups. So we've got the we're looking at the front group on your bottom left hand corner, 27 miles per hour now. The gradient down to minus 0.6, but still downward. As I say, we're you can see the profile at the bottom of your screen. It's not necessarily visible, because certainly on my screen I've got the Suarez Gran Fondo National Series logo over the bit we're on, but in a minute you'll see some white dots coming along that profile at the bottom of your screen, and those will be the riders, and you'll be able to identify where the groups are. So here we have Adele, Culver, Judain. So we've got Italy, USA, and Canada, and Poland, and I see Germany in there as well, Deutschland in that top 10 represented, and the UK flag for K-Mote. Yeah, a few Germans in there, a few UK, and is that Puerto Rico, the other flag with the red and white stripes? I think it is. Right, so we are now into, I believe, a time segment. So we've got the banner coming across the top here, and the banner tells us that we're in a time section, as I said. So there we go. This is a time section, and we can see the time across the top there. This cannot represent every single rider in the group, so the times will vary. So treat these as a guide to the time, and the particular rider that we've set this on will set that time. But I think you can assume that the group itself will be pretty similar times, and if they're as tight as they are now, you see a few more straggling off the back, and it is it's a dangerous thing, because you do get the advantage of being in the peloton, but if you spend a lot of energy actually just fighting your way back on all the time, you can actually end up exerting more energy catching up than you would if you just dropped off and got in the next group. So Catanzaro is absolutely flying on this, 32 miles an hour. That's pretty impressive speed. You can see in the bottom left hand corner now we've got the white dots, and the big dot is the rider we're on, which is Catanzaro, and all the other little dots are either groups or individual riders, and you can therefore get an impression of what the gaps are like between the groups. Catanzaro absolutely flying away. This is further back, and we're looking at Fasnacht here, from the USA in this group, alongside William and a few others. Cara Bono in there, I see, and Holly Larson. So the ladies well represented in this group, which is great to see. Back to 59. We've still got 71 riders online. A couple of those will be bots, so let's work on the basis that there's about 65 riders in line. So this is a one of the groups further back, but that's fine, because remember that this competition is done on age groups. So, oh, look at that. That is a split peloton, isn't it? Just there. This is sort of midway in the pack, and they are not in a bunch. So I think everybody is just going for it themselves during this time section. I got a feeling they might just regroup into a peloton at the end of the time section, or at least those who can find their way back on. A couple, there's a German, and it's Christine and Angel just dropping off there. The pressure on the front, as that peloton does seem to regroup, actually, doesn't it? Time section now, Catanzaro 2 minutes 32 in section 1. This is effectively the time to beat, at least in this race. As I say, there are other races in different time zones. There are 3 UK time zone races, and the riders' times will be put together later. We see one of the Moon Riders out the front there in that kit of white with the green and yellow band around the middle. A few OTR riders in there, the green, white and black, I see. Here we are back in mid-pack. These 4 riders, they've obviously, this is Christine again, and Anctil, they've obviously dropped off the group in front, I would suggest, and now need to form together their own little group, which they can either work together or have to go for solo. And I got the feeling, looking at the front group and the way it spaced itself out, that everybody is just going to go for themselves during each time segment. 3 minutes 32, 3 minutes 35 now in that time segment, and Catanzaro is absolutely piling on the pressure now. 162 yards gap back to second place. Ali Smith, from the Scottish rider from Great Britain there, in second place at the moment, and all the rest of them still in a bit of a bunch. So I'm guessing that people are taking the view that if they let somebody else do the work on the front, their time might be improved by just sitting in a peloton here. And if you can get into the draft, this is probably not a bad strategy to get a time that might be a little bit better than you would have got otherwise. So we shall see. So two riders in the pain cave there. One is H's phone, and the other one is Velvet Knight. Both out of the saddle. We are on a positive gradient. It's not, I'm assuming we're looking at the same screen, the gradient 2.1. If you've ever ridden on RGT, I mean, it is very, very realistic. I mean, it is certainly in my view, and plenty of others, the best platform for racing on because of the realisticness. And you can see the leaders are now on that little brown section at the bottom of your screen. Look at the profile. The leaders, 4.7% gradient there. Speed down to 20 miles per hour for the leader, Catanzaro, as he takes on that that steep bit. Now, we'll see, if you look at the bottom of the profile, just to the right of the Suarez Gran Fondo National Series logo, you'll see all the riders, little blobs, and the front riders are on a brown section of land. That means if you look at just coming out of that, now the brown sort of fades a little bit, and the lighter the brown, the less the gradient. Catanzaro 5% gradient at the moment. 6.8 for these guys here back in second. So they're on the dark brown bit, whereas Catanzaro has gone on to the lighter bit. 7.2% for these guys now, just behind Catanzaro. That will sort of drop down to, there's a little respite there as they go down to 2, but back up to 4.9% and 5. So you can see that the difference between 5% and say 7%, or maybe 6.8% or something like that, the shade of brown at the bottom of your screen identifies something like a 2% difference there. Catanzaro 6 minutes 14 into stage 1, and this is the benchmark. You see, you've still got that little bit to go uphill, 8.1%. A little bit of dark brown right at the end of that, but you can see the crest. If you get up that one, and you can see in the top right hand corner, you see the US flag there, and here's the end of the time section right at the top on the crest there. As he gets out of the saddle, puts in that extra effort. 6:38, 6:40, I think it's going to be. Yes, 6:40. Great time. We'll have to see that how that compares with the other races, of course. But well done, Catanzaro. That was a terrific effort. And now 165 yards behind. It's Leon's. Maybe not only Leon's. There's three of them. Oh, look at that for a bit of a run. Acaba. I think that's Puerto Rico. Or is it Costa Rica? I'm sorry, it might be Costa Rica actually. I do beg your pardon. That was an absolutely brilliant sprint at the end by Acaba, and Ruben Klein in third place. So, I say third place. I mean that's over that segment. Somebody further back can conceivably beat them. You don't have to be at the front to do the fastest time in a segment. You could sit back, be very lazy during a non-segment part. So they come out of the time section there. You can the clock's still running, so you can you can gauge the time of these riders further back. So you're looking at about 7:40. So a minute later to Phillips there in 23rd, as other riders still just coming through at 8 minutes. So at 32nd place, we're up to over 8 minutes now. So you can see them crawling around that bend, because remember it's still uphill. The time section ends on that crest at the top as we get another couple of riders through. Quite a few of these riders are going to be something in the region of 2 minutes behind Catanzaro, who took first place, and that's the sort of gap we've got. But as I was saying earlier, it doesn't really matter, because we've got age groups and sex differentials here, so that there's a men's competition and a women's competition and different age groups. So again, at the end of the day, as well as Catanzaro did, if you happen to be a young lady, you're not particularly bothered about his time, because you might well be in the 23 to 34 age bracket for women, and he will certainly not be in that. I'm not sure I can actually tell you which particular age group any particular rider is. I'm afraid that data is not public, in the sense that I suspect maybe when they enter they have to put it, but no, RGT don't sort of keep that sort of thing profile on the screen. As we see an OTR rider on the right there, and that is Beamers at 28, and somebody just shooting off the front there, that's Dickinson, wearing the I should imagine he's a Pocomotion rider based on the kit. The GBR kit is usually worn by Team Pocomotion. So looking at the various groups, we've got a nice little bunch at the top, very small group, just looping their way up on the top of your screen. Further down, we're looking at the very front of the race on your left, and what is basically the second big bunch of the race in on the bottom right hand corner. As I say, it's very difficult to say where everybody is compared to all the other races and each other, because as I say, there is no guarantee that anybody further back is not doing it faster. And even with that 2 minute gap we were just talking about between the first over the line and the later ones, of course, if the later ones started, Ruben Klein there, who did the fantastic little sprint at the end there, well done Ruben, give us another wave if you can hear me. I was impressed by that finish, and very well placed too. So as I say, even though there's 2 minute gap between the leaders and other people coming over the line, of course they didn't actually start at the same time, so the 2 minute gap might only actually be something like a minute and a half, a minute 40, something like that. All the results will be published. Don't forget, you can look them up later when they've all been amalgamated throughout the day. There's something like, oh my goodness, Ruben Klein's had to get off his bike. That isn't good news. I hope he isn't going to lose too much time, and I hope that's not a technical. Oh, he's back on his bike. Thank goodness for that. Oh dear, oh dear. Not in a time segment, so it's not going to lose him too much. I think you can afford to do that. The only thing is, if you're trying to sit in a peloton, you can lose your place in the peloton. Now, the advantage, of course, is that if you can sit in a peloton during the untimed sections and let somebody else do all the work on the front, you get the benefit of the draft, and you leave yourself, idealistically, with lots and lots of energy at the time sections. So we've done one time section section 2 coming up soon. Section 2 has got effectively 2 climbs. We're coming up to that very, very shortly. You can see on the profile, you see that very, very dark bit of sort of orangey red just coming up. You can see the leaders are on a green section of the profile at the bottom of your screen. When they hit that sharp, dark, orangey red sort of section, that's the first bit of it. They go over that, then they go down a very steep descent, because you can see by the blue section before the second rise of time section 2. So as I say, just looking forward to that one. Every climb section, every time section is a climb section. There's poetry there somewhere. So you're going to have to climb and time all these sections. Quite a clever course, I think, and fair play to Suarez Gran Fondo National Series with their E4 series. It's been absolutely fantastic. There were 10 races before this, of which you could qualify to get into this, and so these riders have battled to get here. These are all qualifiers. There's a number of ways you can qualify. Here we see section 2, the climb section, coming up. They're already on 8.5% before they even kick off on this one. Goodness me, that's a bit cruel. And you see, look at the 12 miles per hour. You can see how much that drops. And Del, the Italian, is the first over there, and you can see the speed there, 9 miles per hour. That's something like, we're talking about 15 kph. On a 9% climb, I think it's quite impressive. Somebody just shot through there. Not sure who it was, but you can see a little. This will fracture. I mean, I think this is quite steep. 10%. We'll hit 10% there. Cantanzara there. Again, you can see Vima going backwards in the OTR. Just pulls it back together. Gets on the wheel of Phillips just in front of him. Beck, the German. It's almost coming and going, isn't it? I mean, people look like they're just about to pull. Is that Daniel Cadiz? Yes, I think it is. Daniel Cadiz there, pulling out in the red kit, and Cantanzara is leader again. I mean, I think that was him that shot through earlier, possibly in front of Daniel Cadiz. But Cadiz sharing this place with Kudlisha, the German, ahead of Lions, Akaba, Yankus, and Ruzinek from Canada. Ruben Klein in our Pain Cave Zoom link pictures is holding a very respectable 9th place, only about 15-16 yards behind, as we see some of the other riders now approaching this. So I was saying earlier about not everybody starts together. Well done, Christine, for being in there. So these riders here, about midway in the pack. Remember, we've still got 71 riders online, so assume that's 65 by the time you take out the bots. Those riders going across there in 32nd place, of course, represent about the halfway stage, so about a minute 35 between the leaders entering the time zone and the halfway riders. These climbs are going to spread everybody out. You can just look at this. The pain of 8.9%. Personally, I do think as these guys come up 2 minutes behind, and this is sort of 2/3. Oh dear, Culver's got a technical by the looks of things, although the legs seem to be moving. I hope that's not terminal for Culver. If you're going to stop, you can stop that. If you stop just before the time section, obviously you can cross into it and start your time. Culver seems to be moving there, looking at the shots, which is good news. I suppose the only disadvantage is you're not going into that time zone with any momentum if you're starting off, but you don't want to actually stop during the time section. You want to stop just before, so that the time only kicks off. Ruben Klein there, mouth open, working hard on those gradients. Wiping the sweat off his face and just about everywhere else as well. Always best to have a towel with you if you're doing indoor e-racing. That and a bottle of water and a fan is the other thing. I think the fan does two things. It keeps you cool, and also the less you sweat, the less everything else in your pain cave starts going rusty because of the amount of salt you're putting into the environment. Ruben Klein out of the seat there, forcing his way up that hill there. This is hard. This is hard work. This look at the percentages there, 9%. This is a tough course, and they really put them through some pain to get times on this. Just look at how fractured it is. No pelotons here, everybody for themselves. Cara Bono there, a lovely lady from the USA who I know because she races in my races. If you're, I'm Dave Morrison. I run the West London VR races every other Wednesday on the RGT platform. Cara, one of the riders competing in my ladies league, and a lovely lady she is too. Very unlucky actually. She had a technical in one of the races, and it's a series where your best 6 races count, and she would have done 6 races, but can't now. She can only manage 5 because she had a power outage during one of the races, and that is one of the things that can go wrong for you. We saw Culver pulling over to the side, presumably with something wrong. We saw Ruben Klein have to get off his bike and go and fix something. Culver now riding away 43rd position. Must have lost some places, but remember, this isn't about places. This is about time. This is somewhere halfway between a race and a time trial, in the sense that you can draft, you can get in packs, and you are racing the other people, except it's based on time. So it's somewhere between the concept of time trial and a race. Austin there, one of the lady riders competing today in 47th place. Very respectable, well done. And we have Kulok here is Kulok is now in what, 42nd place. Wheeler, another one, just climbing up there. 4.2%, not as bad as it has been, and we can see that 2.5%. This does ease off, doesn't it? I mean, you can see they're on the green sections, just on the green section. They've just come off the brown section on the profile. There's Cuffer in 51st place now, but it's still uphill. This is an arduous course. They've only got over the first one, so I should imagine the leaders must be getting towards the end of the time zone. Based on my profile, I think they must be getting towards the end of that. And here we have Catanzaro again leading the way. Look at that, absolutely look at that. 0.15 of a mile gap now between Catanzaro and the next rider. That is incredible. Here's the next rider, Yankas, in 2nd place, and he's got Lions Daniel Cadiz on his wheel. There's another little bunch behind, but there's a significant difference there of 60 yards. Daniel Cadiz just sitting there. Smith from Scotland in the UK. Rusnak, the Canadian, in that bunch too, with Kuklucha and Curieri, who I didn't realise was in the race. Glad to see you in there. Akaba, who we've mentioned before, and Ruben Klein in 10th position. But as I say, don't confuse position with time, because this is a timed race over several segments. As I say, I believe that Catanzaro must be towards the end of section 1, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of time Catanzaro can get if we haven't missed him going over the time section. I'm not really sure. 7:20 on the clock since we started it. So significant sections as well, these. Catanzaro here, I'm kind of assuming he must still just be on the time section. It does end somewhere soon, I believe, and we might have missed him going through it, but he seems to be working hard, which suggests to me he's up against it, because what you would do as soon as you get through the time section, you'll ease off and you let the pack come back, and you'll sit in the pack until you get to the next one. And Catanzaro seems to understand this, has worked the system well, making all his efforts count in these time sections as we climb the hill yet again, going past a nice effort for Wahoo. Don't know how many of you are on a Wahoo kicker as opposed to something else. I mean, I suspect that somewhere between Elite Tax and Wahoo will count for most people on a smart trainer in this race. Of course, you don't need a smart trainer necessarily. You can do it with an ordinary turbo trainer as long as you have a power meter to match. The experience is slightly different with a power meter because you don't get resistance in the same way on hills, but you will need to pedal faster to make up the difference. So it might be actually better for people with good cadence. I have absolutely no idea because my cadence is absolutely useless. I'm not sure. I think Cantanzara may. Here we are. Here's the end of the time section. So 8:52. So it's slightly longer than the last one, but it is a longer. I'd say that it's not much longer. It's about the same length actually, but I would say there's a lot more climbing. You had to climb twice and almost continually on the second one. So I would say a much tougher looking profile in the second segment as opposed to the first. As I say, we can't tell you who's leading or not because this is spread over, and Yankees they're getting 9:23 in second place. Although there won't be the exact time because they wouldn't have all crossed the start of the section simultaneously. Remember, these guys were all in the same peloton, so there is a sort of degree of similarity, even though Cantanzara will of course got a quicker time than the other people starting in that same bunch at the same time. 4.4% for these guys back in 13th. Collins just being left behind a little bit by Betvila and Audet ahead of him. Barub just coming in. I have no idea what that flag is, I'm afraid. I know these two, both red, white and green. One is for Wales in the United Kingdom and the other one Italian. So we have JL and Liddell. Liddell and Etna. I wonder if Etna's actually him or whether he comes from the Naples area of Italy. I don't know, I speculate. I don't suppose he's going to I think he's a little bit preoccupied to bother sort of texting us to tell us as we see G. Abbott now just coming in on 10 minutes 45. Quite a big difference between this and the first one. Jerez the pole coming in now. It's hard working at 10 miles per hour, 14 miles an hour and sea. Gradient shallows a little bit for Rigo, the Team Italy rider in all blue. It always fascinated me as to why the Italian flag is red, green and white, and Italian sports teams wear blue. The reason is, although I'm not fully sure I can explain that complete and utter rationale, but for those of you who know history will appreciate that Italy as a country, probably 200 years ago or 175 years ago, was actually not in existence, and there were lots and lots of small states which were amalgamated, something to do with Garibaldi as I understand it, and those states amalgamated and the state of Italy was formed, and the sports teams adopted blue because one of the royal families, the House of Savoy, so Savoy up in northwest Italy, one of those royal families, the Savoy family, wore blue, and their colours were adopted as the sports team's kit. So that is a very sort of potted, sort of loose way of explaining why Italian sports teams often have blue, whilst the flag is red, green, and white. This is the Wales flag, as we saw earlier. So everybody regrouping here, and you see Cantanzara nicely sort of tucked into this group. It is a thin group, of course, though. We're looking at 10 riders here, and this peloton thins on every hill. If any of you have ever been out on a club group ride, you'll know that you get to the hill and the whole thing fragments because we all go up hills at different speeds. So of course what happens is those that get over and regroup will be smaller after each climb. So what have we got for you in segment 3, which is the next one? 3 out of 4, we're halfway through the segments. The next segment is probably flatter and smoother than the second one, and its profile is probably I suppose comparable to the first one. Now you can see at the bottom of your screen there's all those little blobs. The big blob is the rider we're looking at. We're looking at Arrest, the Polish rider, along with Moat and two Americans, Miller and Bottigliero. And anyway, as you can see, we're having a little graphic coming up. This is fantastic. Thanks for this, Damon. That is great. I do believe, actually, we after we've seen these graphics, I think there's the opportunity for a little video as we go through an untimed section. But let's have a look at these sections first before we do that. It's 31.46 miles, as we've discussed earlier, 3,495 feet of climbing, about a third of that roughly if you want that in meters. You can see the red sections in the little profile are the timed zones. So you can see that just after we come down, if you drop down from the red and white profile to the one below, you see where all the white blobs are. That's where the riders are. There's two dark blue sections coming up just after those. When we drop down, that's where the time section 3 will start. And you can see it has a similar profile to time section 1 in the fact that it's reasonably smooth, gradually climbing, but then ramping up a bit towards the top. It's segment 4 that I think they're all going to be having a little bit of trepidation about. And you can see that is a proper mountain climb here in North Carolina on the Asheville course. Brought to you by Suarez Gran Fondo National Series. I did love the advert at the beginning of this. Those Gran Fondos look brilliant. I really need to work out how to get across the Atlantic and join in one of these things. They look fantastic. And well done Suarez Gran Fondo for putting on an E-Fondo series. It's been absolutely amazing. 10 qualifiers, and now we're through to these races, the E-Series Championship. And you can actually, amongst the prizes, you can get the opportunity to ride in one of the real-life Gran Fondos. I mean, how good is that? Absolutely fantastic. So, as I say, if we do get the opportunity, it's probably about time we had a little look at the video that we're going to show you before we get into segment 3.
Thanks everybody for joining us here today for the Suarez E-Fondo Series Championship event. Virtual setting, Asheville, North Carolina. We hope you enjoy the day and have a great time as you dip into the pain cave. Some great raffle prizes will be given away by our series partners. We have some Cane Creek components, a Wahoo kicker we'll give away, along with an Element Rival from Wahoo, Industry 9 hub set, a laser helmet, Shimano pedals, and a stay at the Garda Bike Hotel in Lake Garda, Italy. Big thanks to RGT Cycling for working with us to introduce our time section format to the virtual race world. When I built the Gran Fondo National Series, I did so with a focus on time section racing that would welcome riders of all ability into the sport to compete at whatever level matched their ability. Here we are doing it virtually worldwide, thanks to RGT Cycling. Big thanks to all of our partners who have supported the E-Series. Wahoo giving away a kicker and a rival watch. Garda Bike Hotel raffling off a stay with us for 4 nights in Lake Garda, Italy. I'll be there myself in late April, early May. Come join me for the fun. Industry 9 hub set up for grabs, as well as Cane Creek components, Shimano pedals, a laser helmet, and more prizes from our great partners here at Gran Fondo National Series. Thanks for joining us for the fun today. Lots of riders going deep, seeing what they have as they race the time sections of all-out efforts. That be including me, as I'm about to hurt myself again, just for the fun of it. If you've enjoyed the E-Fondos here on RGT Cycling, please consider joining us for some in real-life action and fun. We'll be all over the continental U.S., offering great events throughout the year, all of which are constructed using our time section racing format.
Well, doesn't that look fantastic? The voice of Ruben Klein there. We've seen him, in fact, while the voiceover was coming to you, we saw Ruben sweating away on the left of the two riders on the Zoom meet. Stage 3 is coming up. It's 16 kilometres long, so that's going to be quite a feat. I have to say, I think those Gran Fondos look fantastic. I can't understand why you need to come over to Lake Garda with courses like that, but I have to say, a prize at Lake Garda, it is fantastic. If you've never seen Lake Garda, go. It is absolutely gorgeous. What a prize! And a Wahoo kicker. I love a Wahoo kicker. I have a Wahoo kicker. A bit of a Wahoo fan, actually. Got a lot of their kit as we come into section 3, time section. Now, well, Catanzaro go for this one. This is 16 kilometers long, so this one's actually, sorry, it isn't. Maybe that was just a banner. I wasn't paying the right attention, but I don't think they're all actually going for this one, are they? So we're not quite. They're all going downhill. So I beg your pardon. That banner wasn't a time section. But it will be any second now. I have to say, I'm a bit of a Wahoo fan myself. I have a lot of their kit, and one of the things that has really endeared Wahoo to me is the excellent customer service that I've had from them. A few things have gone wrong. They have been absolutely excellent, and I like their gear. So here's a time section. I was a little bit premature. Abbott zooming out. This is the full-on effort. Oh, look at that. Is that the Italian rider, Baruba? No, that's... Actually, I don't recognise the flag there. I think the flag actually for Baruba. I think it's Antarctica. Actually, I may be very wrong, but I've got a feeling it's something odd like Baruba is. And look at Catanzaro goes for it again. I would be very surprised if Catanzaro isn't. He's not getting his own way quite as much as before. Abbott's giving him a bit of a race here. Catanzaro taking the wheel now and getting the benefit of the draft. You see the peloton just stringing out a little bit as everybody goes full gas here. Will there be 10 riders when we, or 11 riders, I beg your pardon, in this group? Will there be 11 afterwards? Catanzaro now in his familiar role, pushing on ahead. Remember the 16 miles, this one. It's going to be like a time trial for Catanzaro, and I've got a feeling he can do it. I mean, based on what we've seen in the last two. I think the interesting thing will be whether Catanzaro has the attributes to do the same on the third one, which is a mountain climb. They pulled him back again. It's not the same as usual. He's found himself back in the peloton. Maybe he's biding his time. I mean, this is all speculation as ever, I suppose. 3 Hours Racing team there came out. Garrigo from Team Italy in the blue, which Baruba was wearing that kit as well, although I don't think that's indicative of anything. Botti Liguriya and VMS now, Phillips, Beck, Heinemann in this little group here, OTR rider and a Pocomotion rider, Phillips riding for Pocomotion as they come into that zone. 151 for the leaders into zone 1, 16 miles. Basically, if it's 16 miles, and the best we're probably going to sort of really see as an average, I would guess, is 30 miles per hour. We could be quite some time in this section. I think this could well be. So if you're doing 30 miles an hour, it's going to take you half an hour, 30 minutes to do this section, if that's correct. Now, I giving you a very rough guide. You can see coming up, we've got a climb towards the end, and it's section 3 ends just before the crest of that climb, if not on that climb. I think it's just before the climb that we've got coming up. So, remember, this is a 31.46 mile race. We've done 17.27 miles, so we are over halfway. 974 feet of climbing, but this of course is a very back-end loaded race. 3,496. I wonder how many of them have got a Wahoo kicker riser. So if you're not sure what a kicker riser is, it's a thing you can put on your front wheel that Wahoo do. And as soon as you're when you're on a smart trainer, as soon as the gradient goes up, the front of your bike goes up as if you're actually riding uphill. and I have one myself. Actually, it usually alerts me when I'm not paying attention to the fact that the gradient has changed, because the shift at the front tells me that the gradient has shifted when I'm not actually necessarily feeling it in my legs yet. So it's quite a nice little gimmick to have. I don't think you need one to race, but I quite like the pleasure of having it on the front. And I go back to, at some point it did break, and Wahoo replaced it instantaneously without quibble. They were absolutely brilliant. So yep, if you can win that Wahoo kicker out of this race, you're doing well. And Lake Garda Hotel, that was the other one. And some of the other kit was sound. Laser helmet in there as well, wasn't there? And hubs and everything. Oh, fantastic array of prizes. I say, Lake Garda, if you can win there, I mean, I don't know if they cover your flights. I suspect they're praying somebody in Italy wins it, right? So that they don't have to pay so much travel. But yeah, it may just be the stay in Garda. If nobody wants it, by the way, Ruben, just send it to me. That's fine. I'll come out and join you in April. I think you'll beat me up the hills, though, looking at the way you sprinted in stage 1. So here we are, aerial view at the top, 4 minutes 36 into segment 3. Remember all the results. You can see the website up there, www.granfondonationalseries.com. This is where all the results will be later today. Remember, there are actually a total across the time zones of something like 18 races of this today here on the Asheville course in North Carolina. And I did have a little look at some of the cycling pictures before I tuned in for this, and it looked absolutely fantastic up there. I've never been to North Carolina myself, but it certainly looked tempting, I would say. It looked absolutely beautiful for cycling. So, and the mountain course we're doing today, although I didn't actually see photos of that, bearing in mind the photos I did see and the terrain that we saw in the map at the beginning of this race, it looked absolutely, I fused together, use a bit of your imagination. I think it looked a great destination. So that and Colorado are now on my list of places to visit next time I get stateside. Catanzaro now, not as big a gap as he's been having. I wonder if you know, the others are getting a bit better, or Catanzaro's burnt a few matches in this. It doesn't matter. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as he beats everybody else, then it is timed. I mean, you just got to get quicker time than everybody else. You don't have to beat them by a long distance. But this is the first time we've really seen them within view, just behind. The gap 53 yards. He's been getting 3-digit gaps, sort of 100 yards and things like that. But of course, you know, there's plenty to go in this. This is a 16-mile timed section. So, and we see the Welshman JL here pulling out a little bit. Riznek, the Canadian, next up behind him by the looks of things, but he's pulling out a bit of a gap, isn't he? It's Kichlucha, the German, actually. No, who's behind him. Abbott, Yankus and Lyons representing the USA coming up next. Kuba, Audit from Canada, Barub, who I am guessing says he comes from Antarctica. I'm not quite sure how much I take that in. Sorry, I say it's a 16-mile section. I might have misread the information. I think it started on 16 miles. I do beg your pardon. It doesn't look like a 16-mile section, does it? So perhaps it won't be quite as long. In fact, it looks probably the longest one so far, but it won't be 16 miles. It started at 16 miles. So that's me misreading the notes. I do beg your pardon. So we're probably nearer the finish of this time section than I've led you to believe. And we can see the distance of them. It's a 4-mile section after all that. The fourth one at 6.1. So they get longer as the course goes on. So beg your pardon for misleading you. At 19.27 miles, we started at 16 miles. Catanzaro is probably something like 3/4 of a mile from the finish. So sorry for misleading you about the length of that section. I did read it. I was just reading a note that said time section 16 miles. That was the start, not the length. So My fault, and we'll correct that. We'll gloss over that and start talking about something else. As we look at the pack, this is held together as a pack quite well, this little group, hasn't it? It's and this is the second group. I mean, they haven't fragmented much. It's not the steepest. They're about to hit the steep section, of course. 3%. We just saw they were on there, but they are just entering the darker brown section, so the gradient will go up for them. As we go further back in the race, Dickinson, the Brit, alongside BMAC Italian, Beck from Germany, like the lager of the same name, or beer of the same name, Hanneman from the USA, and one other rider in there. We've got Phillips, I think. So, yes, Phillips, the Welsh rider from the United Kingdom. It's a good old Welsh name, is Phillips, isn't it? I'll tell you what, if you were on a quiz night and somebody said, guess which country these names originate from, if somebody said Phillips, you'd know. Interesting to see somebody using those upright handlebars. I am pretty certain they make no difference to your riding. They just make you stand out in the crowd. And Bühler is the German on the upright handlebars. I saw these a few races ago, the week they were introduced, I think. I think it did make the riders stand out, but I'm pretty certain it makes zero difference to how the data is processed. I suspect if the upright position suddenly penalised you because it wasn't a zero, people would be dropping those straight away. So Catanzaro finishing the 4 miles, so it's 4 miles and 4.1 miles actually, so 10 minutes. That's commensurate with the other ones. Not as big a gap as we've seen though, was it? Smith coming around at the moment. I mean, it's only 0.16. Yeah, the gap is not quite as. I think Catanzaro has eked a little bit out on that last section, but it's not as big as he did before. Smith Scott and Daniel Cadiz now coming through. Some fairly expected names as the group comes through en masse around that 10-minute mark. So Catanzaro very much looking like the man of the race so far, but we have got this big challenge as you see Angel and Miller just coming through and Moat on that last little bit of the climb before the end of the time section. As I said before, I don't think we can assume though that everything is going to be quite as hunky-dory on the last section. It's a very, very different sort of climb, and if you look at the length of it, if you remember, it was 6.1 miles as we saw from the profile, and it is longer and steeper. And you can see there's some very dark red strips in that profile. If you look in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, we can see there that there's a lot of red. It's darker red than some of the other climbs. There's a lot more of it, and it is, most of that in fact all of that 6.1 miles. Catanzaro is slowing right down 6 miles an hour on this 9.8% little ramp. I mean, it is only a tiny ramp, and you can see from the profile below, it's just comes out of the blue after that descent, and it'll be over the top now, already dropping at 7.7% as it eases over. It's a short ramp, but look at the damage, look at the way it split that peloton. My guess is they will come together. Look, suddenly just up the ramp and bang. Catanzaro does what he does. He lets everybody else come through, sit in the pack, don't burn matches, wasting energy during the untimed sections. Catanzaro, the master of the time section, going full gas there. As Ruben Klein alluded during the little speech he gave earlier on behalf of Suarez Gran Fondo National Series, and of course it's the E-Series, the E-Fondo Series, which has been absolutely fantastic. Part of the prizes are places in some of the real-life races. Ruben Klein there in the centre of your screen he's actually looking quite calm, isn't he? Sits up, yeah. He'll pour himself a cup of tea in a minute. If he looks any more laid back and smooth, I bet it's hurting really. So As you can see there on the right, the other rider, H, is absolutely rocking. Look at that, you contrast the styles. I mean, I bet you I can tell you which one's going uphill and which one's not. The rider on the right is clearly putting that effort in to get up the hill. Ruben Klein wiping a little bit of sweat from his brow, but looking quite smooth, which suggests to me he's on that downward stretch with the other guys in that front group probably. Aerial view here, Kanazawa now sitting behind the other riders. You can see, I mean, we had something like 11 riders, I believe, in that group, and there's only 8 now. Each climb seems to drop a couple of riders. Once you're off the back of one of these groups, it's very hard to get on. And I think probably, I can't speak for every rider and what goes through their head, but I think it kind of suits everybody to let the other riders catch up during a non-timed stretch, because you might as well get in a group and it suits everybody. So you might as well just sit up and let the other riders come in, because it isn't a race for places, it's a race for time. It's basically a race with little time trials thrown in. And it was interesting Ruben mentioning that this concept is in the national series, the Gran Fondo series, which I think is fantastic. As I say, I'd love to take part in one of these. I don't think I'd be very good, but I'd love to do one. There we are. That's why I'm commentating and not racing, of course. So what have we got? We're looking now at various parts of the races, mainly the guys at the front on the bottom left, and the what I would call, well, this can't be the second batch anymore because it's 24th. There must be at least 10 riders in between them and the front group, so plenty to play for. We've got Horton and Jadon. It's a couple of other riders. A little bit strung out there, isn't it? I mean, they're on 5% gradient, so you'd expect it. And Ekman there from the USA in 34th place. There's a big gap in front, I would say. If you look at riders here, there's an 80-yard gap to the next rider, 30 behind. Whether or not Rays can actually get into another group, or is now forced to ride most of the race solo, we'll have to see. Christine for the ladies there, same thing. She'd be better off getting in and working together with Rays just ahead of her if she can, and we'll just have to see. 0.11 of a mile back to the next rider behind, which is Culver, the gentleman we saw earlier who had the Tacanical just before the second timed zone. And I mean, I think they should really all try and get together again. And you see the Holly Larson just leading the group there. She's, the gap between Holly here, and we see her in her OTR kit. The gap between Holly and the people behind means that they really ought to get together and use each other for the non-time section. Austin there, another one of the lady riders, get together, and this is exactly what's happening. They are getting together. All right, they're not quite at the end of the time zone, but it would make very good sense to combine Cara Bono in that group as well. Nice little battle between the ladies going on here, and helping each other out. So as I say, they're not quite at the top of the time zone, but they will, I think, group together and work as a team over the untimed section. Wheeler just behind, but I think they'll do the decent thing and let Wheeler back on 45th place there. Now the gap back, there's 96 yards behind Wheeler, and you can see the gaps here. You can see Wheeler ahead to Doyle. That might be a little bit hard to close, and it rather depends what the group in front do. I think Doyle will have to have his fingers crossed as to whether he can get on that route. Finnan at 42nd could combine with Deal as they come down, and Doyle, I should say, not Deal, and we shall see what happens. You see these groups, you can see, where the gaps are like that. It's to everybody's benefit in this format of race to close those gaps and work as a team. You can go as slow as you like during the untimed sections. You really need to be putting your energy into the time segments, and we've got one left coming up You can see, as we've said before, if you just tuned in or you walked into the room and somebody else is watching this and you wonder what's going on, the white dots on the bottom of your screen along that profile are where the various riders are currently placed. The ones at the front are heading towards that rather steep looking mountain climb up a valley along the river and up to the top of the mountain at the end of the course on the right of the bottom of your screen. As you see these two riders now just coming into the time zone, actually, so we'll see how they get on and fare. So it's quite a way, I think, to go to the start of the fourth and final segment. 6.1 miles of gritty climbing. When you talk about a pain cave, this will be the pain cave. They will have, by the time they start that, the thick end of 25 miles under their belt. They will have whacked up something like, I would suggest, I'm guessing 1,000, maybe 1,000 feet of climbing. And as I say, I think that will be attritional, to say the least. But as I say, it doesn't really matter if it's attritional in terms of position. It is really how fast you do it. So, Murphy here, we're back at 65th place. We still have 70 riders online. One rider dropped out. I'm not sure who that is, but that's quite a good rate. I mean, unfortunately, as you see in most races, somebody somewhere will get some sort of internet interference and lose the connection and so on and so forth. So somebody will always drop out, and it'll be the person who kind of realises that they've got a severe problem. Looking at the white dots on the bottom of the screen, and we're looking at 67th here, and it's quite a way back. I was just about to look at the two near the end. The white dots on the bottom, they're two very, very far back. I'm not sure quite why they are so far back. So the big white blob is the cycle motorway, and there is a big gap. The two behind. That explains it. The two behind are bots, so that's fine. This is probably the last rider on the course in 67th place, and with a couple of bots ahead. That's probably nearer to 62nd, I would guess. Liddell Etna, Team Italy. As I say, we question whether Mount Etna in the Naples district is the reference at the end, or whether that is a name. Up front in first position, not a lot to be gained from doing that, as we see Ruben Klein just getting out of the saddle and staring at the screen, probably reading some of the data, back into position there, and presumably on a downhill section at the moment. Ruben not in that top 11 that we can see on our screen at the moment, so Ruben obviously in Group 2 or solo, but I think Ruben understands. I mean, he's the man who's put this together for us and gave us that nice little talk earlier, told us all about the prizes. Will understand that there is no real need to be in the first group. Here's Ruben now, 16th and riding solo. Nothing to be gained from chasing down the pack. You'd almost be better just waiting for another group to catch you up if you want to draft, rather than chasing down the one in front during this untimed zone. But we're getting ever closer at the front of the race to the time zone. You can see where it is. It's on the bottom right of your screen. If you look at the profile, it's where that nasty red section starts. This is going to be the, I suppose, segment of the day, we'd assume. 6.1 miles of absolute pain as they go up that mountain. And here are the guys at the front using the peloton, as we said before. So who have we got at the front? We've got Abbott, Betuila, Daniel Cadiz, I see in there, Jack Al, Yankus is in there, Baru now off the pace. So we're looking at, I was to say, so Yanks, Cadiz, Abbott, Smith from Scotland, Akoba and Kutlusha from Germany, Detweiler from USA, JL the Welshman, Guerri, and so that's. I think I've mentioned everybody. I've probably missed somebody out. Captain Zara. So how can I miss that? And as I say, if you look beyond this this group of 12 at the front, then 13 at the front, I should say, you then start seeing the big gaps where it splits out. But as we've said time and time again, it's not where you finish, it's how fast you do the segments. And we can see now 11th. You can see these people split out. Now Lions 18th is not quite on that group at the front, riding solo. I personally, from my own experience of doing these sorts of races, and I haven't done a segment race personally, but I think you can waste a lot of energy fighting too hard when you're on your own, and that is in a race where place does count. I often, I think in the early days of using RGT, I found that if you got dropped by the peloton and you tried to sort of spend a lot of energy keeping up with it and keeping the distance to the pack behind, it was futile, in the sense that the pack behind Jerez there in 21st, just crawling up at 3.5 and that 5.4% bit of gradient. We're getting quite close to the start of segment 4, but some little undulations in there causing a bit of problem and slowing people down. As I was saying though, I spent a lot of energy trying to keep gaps with the group behind me, but the group always inevitably caught me, and I'd have been better off slowing down and getting in the group and spending a lot less energy, because the result was always the same. They caught me. So it may not be the same for you, but I certainly think if that's like that in a race for places, then what's it like for this? Well, absolutely. I think everybody understands. Get in the peloton during the other bits. These undulations here, though, there's some little steep bits, and it, like any bit of cycling, we don't all get up the hills at the same time, and it can fragment it. And it's really, you see, look, it suddenly goes up. Another one of these undulations, 7.8%, and look, Detweiler dropping off the back. All right, he's just been overtaken by Smith, which gives Detweiler the opportunity to use his wheel to pull back onto the pack. Will Smith get back on? But Detweiler's not only got on the pack, he's decided to charge all the way through it. I think you're surging a bit too much there, mate. It's yeah, you don't want to do that up the hill. Save your energy. Save your energy. Mind you, Del Etna is way ahead now, 0.27 of a mile over the pack. Not really sure what is to be gained here, but we are getting ever close to the time section. 6.1 it is. We must be something right. We must be very close to it now. 24.89. So essentially, at 26.3 miles, we will be hitting the last time section. So Liddell Etna is probably, in fact, is at the time zone we can see just ahead of us. So Liddell Etna is about to hit the time zone after pushing hard up that little section there, and hopefully not spending too much energy. That's going to be very useful as we hit. This is the climax of the day. It's a time section number 4, 6.1 miles of hell as we go up a valley. When I say hell, I'm sure the valley is absolutely beautiful, but cycling up it in a racing condition against the clock on your own is going to be something where you really need to grit your teeth and probably just about grit every other thing that you can possibly grit around your body. The others hitting this now, getting a little bit strung out as people ramp up their speeds to go through and get a good start on this mountain. About 30-second time gap then between Adele and the other main leaders in the race for places, but not the necessarily time. Yanks pulling out there. Collins, you can see smoothly going up there. Guerrieri pulling away Al the Welshman and Detweiler, who we saw surge through the pack, now just dropping back a little bit. You can see gaps forming here as Kutlucha, the German, pulls through in that blue strip, currently in 10th place. Guerrieri is probably going to be caught by these guys. Howell and Detweiler taking the wheel of Kutlucha and probably gaining some watt savings there. That'll be very valuable. And I think it's the telling thing is here is they are catching Guerrieri. The gap between Guerrieri and the rest is reasonably steady. Adele is being caught, and he's being caught by guess who? Now, are you surprised that currently going up a hill in a time segment, we have a leader whose name happens to be Catanzara from the USA, and he is pulling away emphatically from Liddell. That's 25 yards, and he's only just passed him. It's 30. Look at this. This is exemplary. This is absolutely fantastic. Pushing out 500 watts now. Cadence of 74, which I think is pretty decent. It's obviously spinning the right sort of gear there to get that sort of cadence with that amount of power. Heart rate of 166. Cool as you like. This is impressive cycling. He's eked out 100 yards just in that time. Absolutely phenomenal. So Catanzara is just putting everybody to the sword today. What we can't tell you though, at 8.1%, this hurts on a smart trainer. Well, it does for me anyway, and I'm sure these guys in racing conditions it probably hurts even more. You can see the white blob. They've only just started. There are loads and loads of yards of red to go. Daniel Kadir's pulling away in that red kit in 3rd place. Lovely mountain scenery. Look at that. Look, we've got proper. This is proper mountain climbing, isn't it? Look at that. Nice little hairpin bend. Yes, the absolutely fantastic. That's what you like to see. That's that's what a mountain climb should look like, shouldn't it? So, as they weave their way up, we get another Wahoo advert. Remember, a Wahoo kicker is one of the prizes, and I dare say that a lot of the riders here are on Wahoo as we go through another one of these twisty hairpins up the mountain. You can see the rocks. This is probably not the real scenery insofar as, oh look, this is hairpins all the way, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. And you can do plenty more if you go to Lake Garda, because there'll be plenty of Italian mountains certainly just to the north of Garda if you go there. Absolutely fantastic. So Al is 12th place now. Lucas pulled away from him. Oh my goodness, Abbott is in a touch of trouble. 1.7 miles per hour. That doesn't bode well. The legs are going round well. Oh no. Please tell me that this is not a mechanical. If the legs are moving, it's probably not a mechanical, but I can't understand why the legs are moving at that rate and only getting 1 mile per hour. Maybe this is just a gradient and a climb too far. That doesn't look healthy though, does it? Yankees in 7th place there, just behind. And these aerial views are great, aren't they? We'll just need that helicopter noise underneath, don't we? I'll tell you what, Damon, if you can sit there making helicopter noises underneath, it'd sound fantastic. I'm not sure how good your helicopter impersonation is, but only joking, of course. I do believe, I don't know if this is 100% true, but I do believe that when you are watching televised cycling and you hear that helicopter noise when they do the aerial shot, it's not the actual helicopter. They just put it on there for effect, I'm told, because the actual beamback from the helicopter doesn't carry any sound, just pictures. So they put it on. Just look at the gradients, look at the cliff sides between each hairpin bend. They are proper cliffs, as you can see as we go up back round this one. This one might be a bit milder in the way that it kills round to the right there and then up the side. But just look at the drops between each segment of road. If you've ever ridden mountains, you'll know that you look up to the hairpin above you. Oh, we've got helicopter noise. How good is that? Damon, you are a star. Where did you get that one from? Absolutely brilliant. This is teamwork at its best. Well done, Damon. Damon Bates is the guy in the studio producing all this. And I've never ever said that before, so he had no idea that I was going to start mentioning helicopter noises. And what have we got? What, 30 seconds later? Less than a minute. He's got helicopter noises on the broadcast. This is ZMS Productions. Remember the name, ZMS on RGT. And look at that, slick as you like. As soon as we switch from the helicopter picture, the helicopter noise goes away. Yes, you see it best with us. RGT, best for racing, ZMS broadcasts fantastic. And of course, the Suarez Gran Fondo National Series, and of course the eFondo Series brought to you by the same organisation, and every bit of it fantastic. 10 races open for these guys to qualify in this E-Series Championship here this week, today on the 27th of February. So if you are watching the stream afterwards, this was on Sunday 27th of February 2022 for the E-Series Championship. And it's, as I say, there are lots of these races all going on today. There are about 18 and different time zones, and the results will be amalgamated. Let's look at that straight away up. It's one of those cliff drops. As I say, if you've ever ridden mountains, you look up to one of those. Every time I come up with that sentence, he puts the helicopter in so that I get distracted by the wonderful sound effects. But if you've ever ridden mountains and you look up and you see the height of the next section and you're absolutely daunted, the thing to remember is, of course, that you are going up and it is going up. So the differential between the two sections is turns out not to be as bad as it looks, but it is somewhat daunting when you're actually riding hairpins. Ruben Klein now, absolutely putting some hard effort in now, clearly on the climb, and it shows in the effort. Bouncing around, I'm just wondering, I wonder if that's probably Larson on the right. I'm not sure actually, because it says H's phone. I might be wrong. We shall see. I should probably get some sort of letter of complaint if I got it wrong, as we go back to some helicopter noises. Absolutely brilliant. I'm so impressed, Damon, that you just got that straight away. I should start testing how good Damon is here, shouldn't I? I should start saying something like, of course, in these mountains they've got bears and you can hear them, so he has to put bear noises on or something. I'm sure they do. I'm sure you wouldn't hear bears if you're out here riding, but I could be wrong. Who knows? I'll have to make up some other ridiculous. I'll do some research for the next one. I'll come up with some sounds and see how quickly Damon can pull them out of the sound effects library. Daniel Cadiz in his place, looking quite smooth in his riding. He says, I'm told that the bears is probably a noise too far. I'll come up with something more realistic for you, Damon, at some point. So Koba in 8th place. This rider's riding quite smoothly. If you look at the pace they're going, holding steady at the wattage they're putting out, and I think we're looking at the gradients. Oh, it's just gone up to 5.7. This can hurt when you're doing these sorts of things. You know, if the gradient's steady, you can just find that gear and push yourself up it. But if you keep switching, it starts to hurt. It's around 5.8%. This is a comfortable gradient, I would say, but I think you're looking at them all in the orange section. It will get bigger as they hit the redder sections, and even when they get over this first lump of red, as I think Canazara probably is about to enter a green section. It is still uphill, even though it's green. As we look at a Bottigliero order here on 7.2%, 14th place. And you can see that's the big blob. Whoever we're looking at is the big blob on the bottom of your screen. About just under halfway up this climb, doing the hairpins there, Ruben Klein, the man who's we've seen in the Zwift room, and we've heard him as well in a little message. Barub with that unusual flag, which I think might just be, and I am guessing, Antarctica. I don't know what cycling can be like in Antarctica, so I assume that if you are, for some reason, it's stationed in an ice station in Antarctica, you probably do a lot of indoor cycling, I would guess. Lions in 17th place, putting out 300 watts, which sounds about right to me. Cadence not being measured on there. I'm not really sure why no cadence is coming up. I think sometimes just the way you've got your settings, or sometimes your connections, it doesn't quite work. Back to helicopters and hairpins. That's what we like to see. I don't know about you, but when I'm watching professional racing on the television, the mountain stages are the crackers, aren't they? Just look at that. I mean, that says Stelvio all over it, isn't it? I mean, it's not Stelvio, of course, but just look at that. You know, the little snaky roads go backwards and forwards on each other as they climb their way up the mountain. This is proper mountainside climbing. But remember, and if you've ever ridden mountains, you will know they take two guises. It's a bit where you go up the side of a valley and you're likely to have hairpins. But a lot of the climbing can be along a valley and reasonably straight, because you're following a river and it will just follow the curves of the river. So this has both in it. If you remember from the profile that we saw right at the beginning of the race, it does go along the river bank at various times. Moat pushing out 247 watts, less than 300 we saw earlier. And what have we got here? 270 from Vimo, 85 cadence. I think cadence, I find it fascinating with hills. I push a bigger gear than most people and have a lower cadence and get told that I'm doing it all wrong all the time. But cadence is not my strong point. So I think cadence is not a great giveaway. It really does depend on what gear they're in. But then the power combination of the two might tell you the whole story. Thiele, 23rd in German, sits up on beg bike. As I said earlier, I don't think it makes any difference to their speed. Although, obviously, if I was in charge, I would penalise anybody who sit up on beg bike because it's clearly not aero and they should be penalised a couple of seconds. Not by race connoisseurs, but I think the it'd be great if they were given a slightly less aerodynamic calibration on the system, but I'm not sure. That's for somebody else to decide. Ruben absolutely working his socks off in effort, and we've all been there, and I know how that feels. And I'll tell you right now, I'm quite glad I'm just commentating, because he's making me tired. Just looking at him, I want to get out of breath watching him. Look at that, out the saddle again. He's putting some effort in. And so I'm not 100% sure who the rider on the right is. I think it might be Ollie Larson. Certainly says H's phone, so it doesn't absolutely confirm that. But if it is, you go, Holly. Fantastic piece of riding. So we have a couple of Germans going around the hairpin, followed by a Brit, and I think one of them's going to get caught. It's interesting, as they go through the shadows, the names disappear and then reappear out of the shadows. This really is realistic, isn't it? Apart from the helicopter noises as well. It's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So Dickinson for the UK is just pushing away. I think might be getting away from Beck. So Beck, the German with the beer of the same name, popular global drink, lager from Germany. I think Beck's slipping back a little bit, but not too much. I think the other German in front is actually pulling away there a little bit. Another hairpin to come. You can see where the next stretch of road is in the bottom right hand corner as we go through the next bend up this mountainside. Remember, this time section, we're 15 minutes into it, is absolutely brutal. It is a mountain climb. You see some of the top riders getting close to the top, but they're about to hit that red section as well. So that'll be Catanzara, the white blob on the bottom right hand screen on the profile. Now we've got Catanzara. He's the lead rider. 29.59 miles, so 29 and a half, about a mile to go, so it's about 1600 meters, and that is, he's got this little red section. I think once over this red section, we've got 11. Oh my goodness. Oh, you don't need 13.3% at the end of a race, do you? Absolutely. He's down to 10 mile an hour, and he's absolutely been caning it today. He has been legging it off front, and even he's right down to 11, 10 miles an hour on these slightly brutal 10% sections. And he's only just at the beginning of that red section as well, which means that this is going to be absolutely leg sapping. Look at that, Collins on 17.4% in second place, and that's not even at the red section that we're getting to in a minute. You can see the second group here still on orange at in fact it's easing off a little bit at 7.8% there, but absolutely brutal. Yankees now 14.6%. I mean, this is not this isn't pleasant, is it? It isn't pleasant. Good luck, guys. I know what it feels like. I won't look too sort of gloatingly, but I did have to do some 20% climbing yesterday, so I've done my fair share. So don't think I'm just being nasty, sort of smirking at you lot suffering on a. This is Canazara. Just going through a time section there. I'm not sure that is the end of the time section. I'm a bit confused by that. I thought the time section went all the way to the end, so not sure what that banner was signifying. Could be wrong. 6.6 miles per hour. That is either because Canazara feels he's out of the time zone and it doesn't matter. It's only 0.46 of a mile to go, so it's not far. Still on the red section, 7.4%, but perhaps not really going for it. Only 200 watts of power being put out there, which does suggest that he's eased off. So I'm slightly confused because I thought the time zone went to the end of the course, but maybe it doesn't. In fact, I'm just checking against the profile. It probably doesn't, because if they are going to end up the time bit before the end, then it makes sense that Canazara seem to ease up. But let's see what happens to Collins. It's not. You can see the sort of crest where this appears to end, but I think that's a bit of a false summit, because if you look at the white blob, there's still plenty of hard red nastiness to climb. 11.3% down to 10.9. We're looking at 11% climb, 9.8 miles per hour, so we're down to single digit miles per hour here. 8.7 for Smith, the Scot riding for the UK, but catching Collins by the looks of things, certainly pulling away from La Delietna. Canazara is right down at 5 miles per hour, 10%. I don't know whether that's tiredness or belief that he's no longer in the time zone, having gone on under that banner. We shall find out shortly. If we can follow Collins, we'll see it, because here's the banner. So you would think when you go through this, that looks like you've just finished the time section, doesn't it? So I think, let's see what Collins does. Does he drop his speed there or not? That's interesting. I thought the time zone went a bit further, but it looks like I'm probably wrong. So they're all going under it, and I think that's probably where it would be calculated to. So having a look at the profile below, and the profile stops on the red, which is why I thought zone 4 was the end of the race, but clearly not, because they're still going on the course, aren't they? Slightly confusing, but I'm sure that everybody will be treated the same. As we see Detweiler there go through the time section, and I would say that everybody's just going to drop their speed. Immediately you see there, Yankus just winds down. We saw it with Canazara. So I think everybody is assuming that where it says it's a time section, that's where it is. I was working from the profile you see in red and white, where it appears that the set time section goes all the way to the end of the course, but it doesn't, does it? Because it's still on the course with a little bit more to go. So, and perhaps this is the person who designed the course just being very, very kind to these guys and saying, you know what, you can have a little spin down after the race. If they spin down, it's just spin up still because it's still a nasty gradient. But they're all slowing down after the banner, so I think we can take it as that. Catanzaro has been the star of the day. Plenty more stars in here. Look, all these guys, every single one of them, as far as I'm concerned, absolute star. Getting up that mountain at speeds you just done it, guys, is to be lauded. Ruben Klein in 14th, still coming up. This is Anktil, Canadian in 11th, just ahead of Ruben, and it's just having a look at 0.77 a mile, so that's most of a mile in the gap. But this is what you'd expect, and just look at the string of white blobs along the mountainside on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And number 13 Bottigliero is actually on a descent bit just before the nasty red bit, so spit all that lactic acid out your legs and then just go to that nasty red bit, which the time section ends during the race. Ruben Klein, the man from the Gran Fondo National Series team, on your screen. Catanzaro now 1 kilometre to go. We're not racing, we're racing for places, I suppose, if you want, but you know, this is a time segment race, so all the results are going to be amalgamated later. All day, the Canadian in the Moonriders kit there, suffering with 7.4% and not even on that dark red bit at the end yet. Riders further back still with that to come. Bureau, as I say, have to look up what that flag is. My guess is that it's Antarctica, but I could be very, very wrong. That was a total, I say a total guess. It's a slightly educated guess. So if I've got it totally wrong, it's because I don't know what I'm talking about. If I got it nearly right, it's because I'm a little bit better informed than some of us, some people give me credit for. We see the Flamme Rouge just coming up for Collins in second place. So the Flamme Rouge, I am assuming 30.75, and I'm assuming that is worked on the basis of a kilometre to go, even though this race is set in miles. So that's probably 0.75 of a mile or something like that to go to the end, as the Del Etna also passes the Flamme Rouge. Plenty of people flying through the Flamme Rouge now on that small blue line descent. You can see just right at the end of the profile there is a little shade of blue when you go through the Flamme Rouge, which denotes a kilometre to go. And Catanzaro now pulls himself up what is a relatively moderate 2.8% towards the finishing line. You can see 250 metres to go on the side of the road, but the data at the top saying 150. So sorry, yeah, it's interesting. 75 metres to go there. No, it is in line. I beg your pardon. 50. I think there's a time lag. I'm misreading it. So this is it. Catanzaro in the Stars and Stripes jersey. It's the star of the day. Finishes first. Was presumably the fastest by a long stretch up all four segments today. And unless somebody has been as outstanding or even better in one of the other 17 versions of this broadcast today, then I think the man could be at the top of the podium. We wish everybody well on this. There's still the whole of that climb at the end to go. Look at that. The field is strung right down the mountain, and there's some people who are probably down in the valley looking up at the mountain and thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to go up that. That happened. Oh, look at that. There's a little bit of playing for podium places in the finishing order. It's just nicking that place of Dillett and taking it from Collins for a finishing position. Smith just gently rolling in, safe in the knowledge that JL, the Welshman. So we have some of our Celtic cousins from Scotland and Wales taking up third, fourth and fifth places, I should say. Guerrieri from the United States going to come in sixth. Just going through the Flamme Rouge now as we see Smith sees the wonderful sign of the finishing line, knowing that he's ridden a very good race in fourth place. I can't tell you how good his times were on the segment, but I think he got decent times, and we await those results. Remember, you can look up the results on the website, and it is www.granfondonationalseries.com. That's where you want to go. You can see here on the details are on there. E-Series Championship, full results at granfondonationalseries.com /eFondo Series there. I'm sure if you remember the first bit, get onto the website, it'll be fairly obvious where to look them up. I don't think they'll be collated for a little while because there's some races in the United States still to come today before they can all be amalgamated. This was the UK time zone. There's 3 UK time zone ones. In fact, if you were watching this and you want to take part and you are in the UK, 8 p.m. tonight is your last chance. Remember though that it is for qualifiers, so if you haven't qualified you can't, but I'm saying if you're one of the guys who has qualified and wants to be part of it from the UK's perspective in the UK time zones, it's 8 p.m. tonight. Otherwise you're into US time zones and you are going to be looking at East Coast, Central US, Mountain US and Pacific times to race this again. So plenty of more races to come. If you are in the UK and you've missed both of them, you'll have to do it during the middle of the night here in the UK to enjoy one of the American races, and I'm sure they'll be fantastic. I'm kind of assuming they'll be very, very populated, given that this is an indigenous US series. Now remember, when you do look up the times, this is split into age categories, both for men and women, so there are 14 different categories you can win in this. So for men and women, there is a 14 to 22 group for men, 14 to 22 group for women. Both have a 23, this is age of course, 23 to 34 age group, 35 to 44 age group. As we look at the Kaba, just finishing with 100 metres to go, and 55 to 64, 65 to 74 and 75 plus. If you're 75 plus and you're going up a mountain like that, chapeau, absolutely wonderful stuff. As we see Daniel Cadiz in 9th place with 0.2 of a mile to go. It's about 500 metres or something like that, I would guess. Sorry if I keep switching to metres. I do live in a country that bases distances on imperial measurements, which I always find a little bit bizarre, because when the UK under rule from Brussels was compelled to start adopting metric units, somehow or other the government wriggled out of changing all the road signage, which would have been a colossal expense, and so our roads are still in miles, but most other things these days are in metric measurements. Decades in 9th. And I was going to say, the thing about us cyclists in the UK is because we go and cycle in Europe a lot, we end up getting quite used to doing the metric distances, whereas car drivers tend to be very stuck with the imperial measurements. So I've actually got to a stage where I find it more natural to do metres than miles, I'm afraid. Bottigliero coming in 10th place, and these are good times, aren't they? Look, 1 hour 37 for a mountain course is pretty decent. Lucha, the German, next up, 150 meters to go, and there are people. I think everybody's on the mountain now, looking at the blobs at the bottom of your screen. So just a case of how long it takes to get up the mountain, really. And we're looking at 10 minutes for the time zone, plus a little bit more for the top section for our top riders. So it could be another sort of, I don't know, anything up to 15 minutes before the last rider gets to the top of the mountain. Nice for RGT to put the graphics in so you get a nice little crowd there. If I was really mean, I'd say to Damon that he has to put some crowd noises in there, but I think that would be a little bit unfair. Here's the challenge, Damon. We have to say that Damon was brilliant with the helicopter earlier on. We're down to Detweiler in 12th. We shall see a few more over the line, just because I think anybody in the top 20 merits a little bit of recording to getting over the line, and we'll probably have to call it a day then. But just remember, the national series Gran Fondo looks absolutely brilliant. That's real life racing, and this is the eFondo series. E-Series Championship that you're now watching, the Sunday 27th of February 2022. It's been absolutely phenomenal. I hope Yankees hasn't got an issue there, because Yankees has stopped pedalling. This suggests a Tacanical. Now, I am not clear whether or not you have to... Oh no, great, he's got going again. Thank goodness for that. I'm not sure whether you have to finish to get the time segments. It'd be nice to sort of say that if you got through all 4 segments, the fact you didn't quite make the finishing line didn't destroy your times. But I was very concerned for Yankees there that didn't cross the line at the end, whether or not the rules allow that. Berube with that blue and white flag that I'm guessing is the Antarctica flag. I could be wrong. We shall see. It's probably nothing like Antarctica. It's probably something tropical now, I've said that, isn't it? Who knows? I'm just guessing. If you know better, is there a way of... I don't think there's any way of sending a message in today on this race, but we... I'm sure there'll be a Facebook page or something. You can tell me what it actually is. Berube coming in there and getting a time of 1 hour 40. Pretty decent stuff. Given the terrain that has been covered today. Lions in 14th. As I say, we're going to go down to I think 20th place to watch them roll in. Ruben Klein there pedalling away. Holly Larson, I think it's Holly anyway, on the right. And if it's not Holly, you can tell me off if it's not you. It's you know where I am. I think we're connected on Strava, aren't we? So it's you can tell me off. I think maybe even Messenger on Facebook as well. So I'm only guessing, but there we are. Ruben Klein wiping off the sweat. We all know what that feels like. It is absolutely grueling. I don't think I've done a course as hard as this one in my RGT career. Somebody else with Tacanical there. This isn't looking good. This isn't looking good. It's Yankees again. I really hope... Yeah, the legs are moving. Really don't want that. To be that close to the finish, you just need to get it. You just need to get it done. Get going. Go on. That's better. That's better. Steady little flow. Don't lose your place. Look at that. There's hardly any distance to go. You can't let it go now. I'm wondering whether this is Tacanical. It's just the sheer agony and exhaustion. I have got off my bike after doing one of these RGT races, barely able to breathe. And if Yankees has just put absolutely everything in getting through the time zone, this might just be a case of him getting his breath back, because the time zones are done. That's what's going to count. 130 yards to go, and that is... Look at that. You can see the finishing zone. Get in there. Oh my goodness. You're not going to get caught, are you? Yankees, Ruben's coming up behind you. I think Ruben's going to overtake Yankees. Oh, there you go. Look at this. There he is. Is he going to be... Oh, he's going to take the place, isn't he? Look at that. Is he going to smile as he does it? Go on, Ruben. Give us a big smile. You just finished, mate. It's absolutely brilliant. Well done, Ruben Klein. And look at that. He even gave us a little talk halfway through the race. How good is that? How many people could do that while they're racing? Bordet in Orday in 17th, again 8.9 miles per hour in the Moon Riders kit there. It's quite respectable to do this. This isn't part of the race. Unlikely to lose a place, as Yankus just did, to the one and only Ruben Klein. Let's just see him coming out. I'm a bit confused actually, because all day seemed to be after Ruben Klein. So I don't. What happened to Yankus? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened to Yankus there, because it doesn't seem to be in the places I was expecting to see. I'm sure that will all come out on the results when they're published. Flips then. Next up is a very respectable 19th place. That is very, 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 very good. Absolutely fantastic. Well done. Well done indeed. 19th. Yeah, you showed a few of the men what you can do. Vimo, Italian. Vimo. Vimo. Sounds like something you drink, doesn't it? Vino? Vimo. Anyway, I'm sure the name is longer than MO, but I shall go and have a glass of Vimo when I've finished anyway, whatever that may be. I think the spread, if you're looking at the gaps here, people aren't really going to manage to take those gaps and do much with them. I think OTR rider Vimo is our 20th rider. Ruzinek and Mo are likely to be next up. But I think this is about where we wrap things up for this broadcast from ZMS. I would like to say a special thank you to the Gran Fondo National Series, all the sponsors, the Crane Creek, and who do we have? Wahoo, with the kicker as one of the prizes. The Lake Garda Hotel, which sounds fantastic. If nobody wants to go, I'll happily take that up. We have to say thank you to ZMS and Damon Bates for putting this all together, and a special gold star and award for finding helicopter noises, just because I said it in the commentary. That did take me back, Damon. Well done. I'm Dave Morrison. I run the West London VR Racing on RGT every other Wednesday. And who else have we got to thank? Well, certainly I think the Gran Fondo National Series, the Suarez guys. And later on today, you need to go on of course, granfondonationalseries.com, and if you remember, /e-fondo-series. That's where all the race results will be accumulated, and you'll find out who won. My money's on Catanzaro. I don't know about you. It's been a pleasure to commentate with you, for you, with ZMS and the Gran Fondo National Series. Have a good day and good luck if you're still to race. See you soon. Bye bye.